Today we're going to the wonderful, beautiful colony of Hong Kong. A place where the food is fabulous, the views are fabulous, the harbor is the most exciting place you can imagine. There's shopping up the gazoo and particularly wonderful food. But I want you to remember that you heard it here first. When you're in Hong Kong, you've got to have guts.
Here is a view, an incomparable view of Hong Kong Harbor. If not the most exciting harbor in the world, certainly one of the most exciting, with the number and the type of boats that ply across this area. You see everything here, from, of course, the famous ferries that still run right straight across between Kowloon, which is directly across from where we are, and Hong Kong Island. And then you see working boats and pleasure boats. And here, sheltered in the Typhoon Harbor of Causeway Bay, we're getting a view of everything from traditional sampans to the wonderful design of the Chinese junks, and of course a lot of pleasure boats in between. But this Typhoon Harbor was built for people to escape to when a typhoon was on its way. It's a very sheltered part of the harbor. There are even these tiny little working boats, bumboats we call them, that go from the dock to the sampan if people want to eat breakfast or lunch and ply their way back and forth. They may even take people out to these pleasure craft that are docked here. But it is always a moving sight in the Hong Kong harbor. Really stunning view of Hong Kong is up here at the Victoria Peak, looking down at the entire island. This is the highest observation point. We came up from Central, from the bottom, in 8 minutes. 8 minutes at a 45-degree angle. It was exciting, as the whole of Hong Kong is. And here you see some of the prime apartment properties available. Up on the peak you go, of course the better view, and so whatever happens in Hong Kong, they're usually ready for it in some way to take advantage of the commercial aspects of it. And here's a t-shirt that shows the British flag being painted out and the communist flag being painted in. Really, 1997, quite charming. This is the backside of Hong Kong's mountainous side, and where there are those apartment houses down below, they're very, very exclusive. The theory being that if the sea is in front of you and the mountain is behind you, you can't lose your wealth. So this is a really prime property area. Park has its Old Faithful, and Victoria Peak has its own brand of geysers, only I think these are really programmed, not just programmed by nature. This is a view of what you might think of as a more traditional Hong Kong. People wearing those peaked hats and selling them, of course, and looking out over the boats. We're in Aberdeen, and there are 3 floating restaurants that live here, and we're going out for a sampan ride. So we'll take a look around the harbor as we go. I think we're going out on one of these traditional boats. It'll be fun if we do. Aberdeen is also a fishing village where people live their lives right here on the water. It isn't just that they go out on the boats to go fishing, they live here. And here you see what they can't eat and sell fresh. They dry in the open air for use in other kinds of cooking. I have no idea what the kinds of fish are. Various fish, I guess. We're right down on the water, so you can see this activity that goes on here all day and well into the night. There are a few legal tour boats that people go out on, and a bunch that just ply the waters because they earn their living this way. And here's the captain of our very own sampan. We're down on the water now at eye level, so we can see what it's like instead of looking at it from way up high in a hotel or even from the shore. See really how people live in this fishing village. In 1905, it's a bit unusual. They don't make it as well. They really don't. Just as an example of how up-to-date everything is in Hong Kong, you don't have to walk up these very steep hills. They have escalators, step on, and you get carried up the hill 800 meters, about, well, not quite a kilometer, about half a mile, and you can get off at any one of a number of stops. So let's go, let's see what we can find out on the top. We're about a third of the way up to where we're going, and you can see this is an old part of Hong Kong. These are very old buildings, and we're looking down at some of the restaurants and advertising and all kinds of park and shop. They're very up to date. Well, we're going up the easy way, the inclinator. It's not a bumpity bump kind of escalator as we know it, where you go up steps. It's just a straight, smooth ride like a moving staircase. But you do have to walk down. And as we go up, for heaven's sake, we're practically in people's houses. You can reach out your hand and shake hands with them.
You can look down and see shops that specialize in snake soup. Yes, you heard me right, snake, S-N-A-K-E, and they're no good unless they're poisonous snakes. But I've got to tell you that I ate it once in China, and I thought it was wonderful, delicious. And just so you get a sense of perspective about this, this is where we've come from, and it's certainly better than walking up all these steps. Now that we're up here, the object of why we came is to come, the antique area. And you can see the stores across the way. Some of them are antique, some of them are semi-antique. But it's a very intense, and these are very famous shops, very well known for their fine quality Oriental antiques. Standing up on Hollywood Road and looking down into the typical marketplace where you can buy everything from foodstuffs to, I guess you're out of the antique area, but right across the street is antiques and toys and junk and all kinds. You'd think you were in San Francisco here, but San Francisco thinks it's in Hong Kong. That's the difference. Well, I'm not sure if that's the emperor and empress over there, or if they're two wise men, but whatever they are.
Wise men.
Wise men, okay. According to Betty, our guide. Here, put her on TV. Betty, tell us about them. Yeah.
Actually, for the emperor, the dressing is not like that. They usually have a crown on the head. So these are usually the wise men.
Great. Thank you. That's Betty. And everyone in Philadelphia ought to know you because you've been such a wonderful guide for us from the Hong Kong Tourist Office. On Cat Street, you can buy just about anything. There are genuine antique shops where they sell things for export. There's also used junk, magazines, shoes, and a man who's selling antique fans, antiques such as they are, and abacus, just in case you lose track of where you are. We're just entering the Jade Market, which is an institution in Hong Kong, and there are 400 and some odd dealers under this roof, all of whom specialize in jade. Some question about whether you really ought to buy the best quality here or just look at it and be interested in what they have and find some souvenirs. In any event, it's very typical, and you'll enjoy seeing it as I do. I'd like to buy it all. Most people think that jade comes in only one color, green. Well, they're wrong. Look at all these colors of jade. There's red jade, and there's big piece of very nice. Yes. Well, as I said, I'd be very happy to take it all home, but maybe just one piece. Thank you very much. One of the things that gives some Chinese dishes a most intriguing flavor is dried tangerine skins. And here you see the real thing drying. As it happens, I do my own, but if I lived here, I guess maybe I'd let them do them for me. Well, we've just arrived at a restaurant, and I'm in the very capable hands of Stephen Wong, who is director of the Public Relations for the Hong Kong Visitors and Tourist Association, and he's just brought me to a restaurant. What's the name of this restaurant?
That's called Chong Fan, one of the most famous Chu Chow style restaurants in town.
Most famous Chu Chow. So let's go see what Chu Chow is. Well, there are a whole lot of foods here that I don't really know what they are, but I'm going to rely on my experts. Come on, Winnie, you come over too. This is Winnie Wong and Stephen was in Philadelphia just a few weeks ago for the ASTA convention.
Great cheesesteak.
Great cheesesteak. How do you like that? Here we are in the middle of the most wonderful food in Hong Kong, and he's talking about cheesesteaks. Let's talk about what we've got here.
We've got a pomegranate chicken here.
Good evening.
Some stew fish in a bean sauce.
You can tell it's pretty informal here.
Yes, and yellow croaker fish, some clams, and some Chiu-Chow style dim sum.
Well,
These are starters.
Winnie, what do you think? Do you like this food? You are Chiu-Chow, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, I think we better sit down and let them give us some food, then we'll talk some more about it.
Sure.
Okay. And now we're sitting down having some of this delicious food. You want to tell us a little bit, or Winnie, you want to tell us what we're eating?
Wow, this is the most famous one in the Chiu-Chow cuisine, and that is the steamed goose, eaten normally with the sauce, which is the garlic sauce with vinegar.
Okay.
This is a stewed eel in big garlic pieces, stewed in big garlic pieces like this.
They like garlic, eh? Oh boy.
Yeah. So it's very tasty. Intestine? Is that intestine?
Goose intestine. Boy, I've eaten everything now. I haven't eaten it yet, but I'm going to. Look at that. It's pretty formidable. You eat it like spaghetti.
This is spaghetti à la chinoise.
A la chinoise. Okay. Well, and I don't know what those things are. They're sort of like clams, but they're not really.
Sea ham. Beautiful, meaty.
Very.
Nice, eaten with the plum sauce.
I think this man enjoys his food, and I can understand why. If I lived here, I'd eat here every night.
This is the chinchu chicken. Chicken in deep fried pepper leaf.
We're gonna have. This is a feast. This isn't a dinner. This is a
Bon
feast.
appetit. Oh, the soup is superb, isn't it?
Soup is superb with a lot of white pepper. Now, will you
White
tell
pepper.
me the name of this
It's
restaurant?
called Chong Fat.
Chong Fat.
In Kowloon City, which is now the food center of Kowloon.
Well, we're gonna have some. We are eating magnificently. What do you think, Winnie? Winnie is a Chiu-Chow, her husband tells me.
I'm so lucky.
She's our expert. Okay. We've just entered the new territories, and which is the suburban Hong Kong. Actually, Hong Kong Island that we think of is only a very small part of what is really Hong Kong. Small in size, that is, but in population it is by far the majority. Anyway, we're going into this temple, and here are the various offerings that one brings to Buddha to ask for forgiveness or pleasure or what protection, the various things that one normally prays for. Only here it is all done with offerings of flowers and paper and incense. Here you're seeing the temple itself, a large 67-year-old temple where, as you can see, just about everybody who comes over here to the new territories stops to visit because it's quite impressive. This is a beautiful and most unusual altar to a Buddha with 4 faces, so that Buddha can watch each of the 4 points of the compass and protect people from all sides. See how very detailed and beautiful the work is, and the offerings are at the base of the altar. We're now on top of the highest mountain, or almost on top of the highest mountain in the new territories, and looking in the direction of Hong Kong. This is called the Misty Mountain, and it's called that for a good reason, although Betty, our guide, says the view is pretty good today. It's pretty misty, so it's not called the Misty Mountain for nothing. And just so that you know that offerings are not confined to the temple, here's an offering to a small Buddhist shrine outside of a normal restaurant. It tells you what is available to eat inside, and you can eat the fruit. You can eat these oranges once you've made the offering because the good has already been done. It's not that you can't buy this kind of stuff in Philadelphia. You can in a few of the stores in Chinatown. But here I got an explanation of which are the best of the dried mushrooms. The more pattern on the back, the more design, the better evidently the mushrooms are. And more expensive. Dried shrimp, oh, look at these. This has a lot of pattern on the back, so they should be the tastiest. For your future information, here are a larger shrimp, which I've never seen dried at home. And there's cuttlefish and abalone and just about everything you can think of that you want preserved, that you don't have time to eat fresh, you can soak and have in your soup. And here we have a variety of fruits, some of which we have in the United States. The apple pears, which have recently come and are delicious, combination of tastes like apples and like pears. And persimmon we know, of course, but durian is something that we certainly do not have. It is so excruciatingly smelly. Some people say it smells like overripe cheese, and some people say like dirty feet, or use your imagination. And then there are pomelos, which are like big grapefruits, very fibrous and very heavy skins. They're quite delicious, and but a lot like grapefruit. Here we're walking into a traditional Chinese market, the way they used to be before they got so sanitized. And here's a man frying those noodles that we so often eat. He throws in a little package, and 2 minutes later he's got a bunch of them exploded and delicious flavor. See how they explode. Some cultures put a premium on very fresh eggs. You get them from the farmer in Lancaster or Reading or wherever, and some cultures put a premium on 1,000-year-old eggs, or, well, they're not really quite that old, but they are preserved in a particular way so that the inside gets green and kind of, I don't know, I've never eaten one, but they say they're delicious. And here are the layers of the eggs. And in case it's not fresh enough for you to have them directly from the farmer, they bring the farm to you. And those white, fuzzy-looking chickens up there, when they get all plucked, I hear the skins are coal black. Just entire. They're more expensive than the others or not? No, they're not any more expensive. They're pretty, though. They're interesting. And as in almost every market area, there's some place to eat. There's a young man having his early lunch, a bowl of soup. I guess that's what this place kind of specializes in, is soup. More youngsters. And we've had a lot of soup and noodles here too, but I don't think we're stopping here for right now. Believe me, they don't mince words here in Hong Kong. They don't say smoking can be bad for your health. They say smoking can cause cancer. And other great big billboard signs say smoking gives you heart trouble. And they don't mince around. They don't mess around. No self-respecting Chinese will buy a fish once it's out of the water, not wiggling around. You don't buy them just lying on ice as we do and say those are fresh fish. You want fresh fish, you want them swimming in the water. And that's what all of these are doing. Every single kind. Even the oysters are in water. The clams, the periwinkles, the crabs. This is some other kind of crustacean, like a big shrimp, or, I don't know, something I don't recognize. But that's the way to buy fish and know that it's fresh. And this is a traditional fishing village. Remember we saw one from Aberdeen. Well, this is a traditional fishing village in the New Territories.
and very, very traditional. People live on these high stern boats, and some of them even grow their own fish in little fish farms close to where they are anchored. But many of them go out to the deep water. A lot more on the other side, but here we're having a view of the entire cluster of. As you can see, people actually live, do their washing, live just the same way as you would any place on shore. But they earn their living and do their living all their lives, except I understand the young people, fewer and fewer of them want to live this lifestyle and are going into the city. This is the Wong Tai Sin Temple. You can see a great attraction for very many people. They come here to have their fortunes told, as well as to worship at the Confucius Shrine, and a building that is dedicated to the shepherd boy who was said to have discovered a kind of medicine made from cinnabar. And he's been elevated to a great sage status. People come to pray at the shrine, Confucian shrine, and to gain whatever wisdom they can. Maybe I'll have my fortune told. We'll see. Here are people praying and shaking their fortune sticks. And eventually they'll go take the stick, and they remember the number of the stick that fell out. See them shake, shake, shake? One of the sticks will fall out eventually, and they'll take that stick down to the fortune teller and see if they can find the answer to what question or questions are bothering them. I think it's a little more mystical than I know how to do, so I'm going to leave it in the hands of all these good people who seem to know what they're doing. Okay. Here, quite a way away, there's an offering of barbecued pork. And so this is a Taoist temple, not Buddhist. They don't bring meat offerings to a Buddhist temple, only flowers and fruits and so forth, but no meat. However, a Taoist temple, they do. Arriving at the talk of the town on the 34th floor of the Excelsior Hotel here in Hong Kong, we're greeted with this enormously bright picture. It's got a 270-degree panorama of the whole area, and we'll walk in and see what's going on. It's about 11 o'clock at night. This is a bar where they serve nothing but XO brandy. That means extra old brandies. They cost the earth, but maybe I'll just keep that to myself for a minute. The earth, each bottle. This is the kitchen where they are very creative with a variety of, a mixture, I should say, of Eastern and Western cuisine. For instance, the other day we had naan, an Indian bread topped with smoked salmon. And here, of course, they're using the traditional woks and noodles, but look at those smart hats these guys are wearing.
Now you see what I mean when I say you have to have guts when you're in Hong Kong. But my word, were they delicious. And all the rest of the food we ate there was delicious too. We had a great time with Stephen Wong, who's the director of tourist relations, who dragged us all the way down into a very special part of town just for guts.